Chris Dangerfield, who you can find on X, has the hosted recording on his page. And as you'll soon learn, this is a summary that was prepared in advance.
Hi, Eri. Thanks for having us both on today. And I suppose I'll jump right in for the reason for this video. I'm hosting an X space on the topic of sustainability. And by the time this video airs, that space will have already taken place because we took the decision to record this video in advance so that we can release it immediately after the space ends. The reason being that during the call, Wietse from XRPL Labs is going to be making a pretty significant announcement that will certainly kickstart this topic. So we both felt that it made sense to ensure that there was an accurate video record of the key points that will be made in a short format video, which can then be used as a reference for other content creators or for the community that maybe don't want to listen back to the entire space. Now, in terms of the call, the topic is sustainability of the XRPL ecosystem, and that's something that I feel very strongly about, and I know that Wietse feels the same. So when he shared some of his ideas on the future of XRPL Labs, I suggested that we should hold a community call. The most obvious reason being that Wietse, who is extremely well respected, and he's a leader in this space. Also, XRPL Labs is one of the most successful companies in the XRPL ecosystem, so it makes sense that if anyone can raise awareness of this topic, it would be him. And secondly, I think that we've just reached a point now where our industry is starting to grow up, and we're being faced with challenges that need grown-up conversations and decisions. Wietse and I both agree that it's important to bring the community along on this journey. And so this space is going to give him an opportunity to make his announcement, and then it will give the community a voice so that they realise that they matter and that they are being listened to. Then we'll expand the topic of conversation out to the wider XRPL ecosystem, and at some point we'll look at the challenges that lie ahead for everyone. So with that said, there's not really a lot more I need to say today. The key information in this video will come from Wietse, so I'll turn it over to him to tell you about the announcement.
And thanks, Eri, for hosting this, Chris, for organizing this. I've been thinking about the sustainability of the ecosystem for a very long time, actually, and we've been present XRPL Labs, and so a couple of the early days XRPL Labs employees and myself, we've been active in the space for 7 years, and the company exists for 5 years. We've been building software for the XRP ledger for 5 years, which we all know feels like ages in the blockchain world. And we've had a very good run thanks to all of you and enthusiastic developers and users, and we've come a long way in the past 5 years, just building things and growing things. And we've had a lot of support doing that. But I think after 5 years of building, it's sort of a natural moment to look back and look forward, right? And if you're going to look forward to what we want to build the next 5 years, and if you reflect on what we have done in the past 5 years, you're inevitably going to touch upon topics like viability, right? How are you going to pay the bills? Where's the money going to come from? Who's going to support you? How are you going to pay your staff? How are you going to feed your families? And the obvious response in the blockchain world still today, after somewhere between 5 to 10 years of blockchain projects building, would be ask for grants, right? And we've received grants for 5 years, and we will receive grants, no doubt, for some time to come. But I think we should want to build an ecosystem, product, software that in time is able to sustain itself, that is able to allow employees to work on it, to feed their families, because they are building a product that's being appreciated not only with likes and downloads, but also with payments, which is a topic I didn't really felt like discussing for a very long time, right? It's something in the ecosystem that has a certain well, maybe even negative connotation. Payments for using a crypto app. So self-custody is all about being your own, well, bank or whatever it is, like being autonomous being your own man or woman, and no one can tell you what to do, what not to do, and paying for that freedom is certainly not something that comes to mind when people think self-custody and blockchain wallets. But I also think that it's time to have a discussion, and I'm very happy that Chris felt the same way, and we started talking, and he said, well, then let's organize a space and open the public discussion. And you know what? I'm ready to have the discussion, not just for XRPL Labs, because we want to be around for years to come. We want to still offer top-notch security for all of the users in the XRPL ecosystem who want to self-custody their funds. We want to be able to pay for security audits. We want to be able to pay the developers who are working full time to build every upcoming new amendment into the products we're building, into the software we're building. But it's time to have the discussion, not for XRPL Labs alone, but for the entire ecosystem. Because if you build a very cool AMM platform or NFT marketplace or future DeFi product with all the amendments coming up, you need to be able to make a living as well. Otherwise, all those projects are going to gain traction, at some point fail to secure another grant, and they're going to go again. And then in 5 years' time, we're going to look back and wonder why we're basically still at the same stage as we were right now, today. And I think this discussion even goes beyond the blockchain space. I think this is a problem in the software world, where many developers are building open source software. Everyone is using it in their commercial products, and they are not able to make a living from maintaining what they've built. Meanwhile, it's being incorporated in commercial products by Apple and Google, and more developers are getting vocal about this as well. And I think it's not even limited to the software world. I think it's a problem we have in society, where everyone needs to figure out how they're gonna make a living, and if their contributions to their job, their hobby, their presence in society, to society in general, if their contributions are being rewarded by that same society or audience or user base in a way where it's actually sustainable to keep on doing it. And then the thing I expect to happen during the discussion, but by the time you're seeing this, the discussion has already been had, and you can listen to the entire space, which is probably going to take some time. So this is the gist of it. What I expect to happen is to also receive a lot of negative comments and feedback, where people downloaded a free software product and they are completely not used to paying for anything in the self-custody blockchain space. And they really have no intention to pay for anything, and it feels like freedom being taken away. So I think what's very important is that we have a discussion, not only so we get on the same line and we all understand the why it's necessary, the consequences of not having this discussion and not making changes, but also to find a way where it works for everyone, right? Where we just don't push everyone in this ecosystem, everyone who carefully considered the ecosystem they want to be present in, who carefully considered which wallet they trust and downloaded, where we don't push everyone away. Because the one thing the ecosystem can't use today is pushing users away. We're in this together, and we want to grow the ecosystem, not shrink it. So I want to find a way where it works for everyone, where we might not be at a break-even point today, and maybe not in a year, but at least where we have a shot at reaching that point in 3 or 5 years, where we can work towards that, where users can still use the product for free, where they still get support. It's crucial if we want to grow the ecosystem, but where if you are a power user, if you gain certain value from the product, above average value from the product you're using, you're also supporting that product. And not because we're asking you or demanding you to pay, but because you want to pay, because you want it to be around 3 to 5 years from now. And where we find a way for all of us to be able to discuss the monetization of our hard work. And I'd like to take the lead, opening up that discussion, because it's going to affect the entire ecosystem. It's not just us. And I expect people, for example, to wonder why isn't this an XRPL ecosystem thing? Is there something wrong in the XRPL ecosystem? I don't think so, actually. I think every ecosystem will have this problem today or in the future. But maybe we're just the first ones to address it, and maybe that's a good thing. I mean, we're in the XRPL ecosystem. I guess we're used to being the first in many things, right? We were the first with a DEX. We were the first with many things. And another thing I expect to happen is people to wonder why, for example, we have to monetize the product. Why shouldn't Ripple support us? Well, Ripple has been supportive, very supportive for a very long time, and I expect them to be supportive for another time, but it's not healthy. It's not a viable product if that's the only reason why we can stay around, why we can exist. Because I mean, there are any number of so here's completely hypothetical. I don't expect this to happen, and I don't even have an opinion about if it should or shouldn't happen. But let's say Ripple loses or burns or whatever all their tokens, and they don't have anything to give away anymore. What if that then, I mean, the ledger will definitely live on, but what if that would result in every project being built in the ecosystem falling over because they don't get the support they got used to getting all the time? I don't think the ecosystem should work that way. I think the users who gain value from the products they use should also contribute to some degree to the support that those projects need to be around in the future. And if products can't sustain themselves, they're not products, they're hobbies. And if you're talking about hobbies, then I mean there's an end to it, right? If there's if the hobby isn't fun anymore, if the hobby costs too much, if you can't feed your family with your hobby, which is usually not the case because it's a hobby. So yeah, a discussion to have right now, not tomorrow, not next year, not because I expect for all problems to be solved after having this discussion and making some changes, but because I feel everyone should be making their decisions based on the same information being shared with them and shared by them to come up with a way that has the respect and works for everyone to hopefully be around with a thriving ecosystem 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, and hopefully give an example to the entire space as well, that it is okay to discuss monetization even in a self-custodial world. So hope you're gonna enjoy listening to the full space and join the discussion.
But there's also a bonus clip. It's of our continued conversation with Wietse, which you can watch by locating the link in this video.